Good evening. I call this public meeting of the North Clackamas School District Board of Directors to order on Thursday, February 22nd at 6:30 p.m. I would like to remind our community that the purpose of our board meetings is to conduct the business of the district first and for everyone to learn about the district in a safe and productive manner. Our first agenda item is community comments. Community comments are an opportunity for our community to share their ideas and opinions with the board. Input is welcome and valued, excuse me. It is our duty to keep it safe and respectful for everyone, students, staff, and our community. This is not a time for discussion or debate. If you have materials for the board, please give them to the board secretary, who will then distribute them to the board members after the meeting. Letters to the board are always welcome, and each of us reads the input. Requests for information should be requested as outlined in policy KBA-AR. An individual desiring to speak will have indicated their desire prior to the board meeting. An individual with a disability will be given an opportunity to participate in board meetings. This may include someone speaking on their behalf if their disability or other medical need limits their ability to attend in person. Board policy also speaks to accommodations available. A speaker will be required to give their name, city of residence, and the group, if any, that is represented. If there are more patrons desiring to present comments than time allotted, the board chair has the authority to reduce the presentation time for the individual speakers or institute a prioritization process with first priority to students and city of residence. Speakers may offer objective criticisms of district operations and programs that are of concern to them. The board is restricted from hearing and will not consider complaints regarding any individual staff, district staff member, or any person connected with the district. Comments that make a staff member identifiable to the public, even without their specific name, violate this policy. As an organization centered around youth and their positive development, all speakers will model respectful public comment and be mindful of civil discourse. We will keep the order of speakers announced by the chair. Tonight, comments regarding Early Literacy Success Grant as required by Oregon Department of Education will be prioritized. Seeing none, I will follow our usual order with comments from students first. So, Michael, are you speaking on behalf of Kylie? All right. All right. Welcome, and state your name, city of residence, and group, and then the clock will begin.
What's the remote for? Oh. I'm a guy. I like remotes.
Are we having some technological issues? Is it? Okay. All right. Thank you.
Can you see my face this week? Last time they couldn't. Okay. I'm not going to speak long tonight, but ladies of the board and my fellow old white men, if you remember the speech last time, that was something that some of your most fervent supporters called me and said I shouldn't be able to speak, but I think we know that's not a good idea. First off, I filed a public records request for a written policy to get a cause or people group honored with a special day, week, or month, and have not received a response and have yet to see a policy. And my question, is there one? It's a policy to get a special week, day, or month for a cause or people group. I know right now the district has a calendar they follow, but it seems to have none that relates to conservatives. And there are causes. Also, I talked to the district business manager, and she said that there is no written policy on what causes and identities can go up on classroom walls or school walls. And why is that, is my question. If you believe in diversity, equity, and inclusion, does it not require you to create a policy? Right now, you are discriminating against conservative families and students by not honoring their causes and identities. Many students and families in this district are being excluded and even told their convictions, causes, and identities are wrong by the very hanging of banners and flags and signs in support of certain causes and identities. How is this honoring and accepting all students? I've said it before and I'll say it again. Honor all identities and causes on walls and with special weeks, or don't honor any. And I do want to follow up and find out how I follow up on these policies that currently don't seem to exist. Can anybody tell me? Who do I talk to?
This is not a time for discussion. We can handle any requests after the meeting.
All right. Well, one thing I want to say in doing this, we've been doing this since October 2022. And we've heard from a lot of people in the district, but a little over a month ago, a guy who's going to speak here after me, a father of some kids here in this district, reached out to me, and I want to thank him because we haven't had a lot of people willing to step up and speak, a lot of other fathers, but I want to thank him, Brandon Lee, Germany. So if you would listen to him tonight, he's got great things to say. But thank you very much.
All right. And Michael, did you want to also take your time as well?
No, I'll skip it.
Okay. All right. Brandon, welcome. Please state your name, the city of residence, and any group that you represent, and then the clock will begin.
Excuse me. Brandon, Germany, Damascus. Good evening, everyone. We don't collaborate. The stuff that he says is like I get so excited the first time I heard Michael speak. It's like, wow, there's other people out there that get it. But anyways, last time I spoke, I mentioned that both Christian students and students that align with LGBT ideology can agree on many things. They can agree on mathematics, language arts, science, history, PE, and so much more. There are many ideas which could be promoted in the classroom to create an environment of inclusion and diversity. However, just as there are ideas which can do this, there are ideas that can destroy inclusivity and diversity. Let me explain. The Christian students believe that God created man and woman as distinct ontological beings, not relative and not mutable beings. Christian students believe that marriage was instituted by God at the creation of the world and was reaffirmed by Jesus in Matthew 19 when he said, "For this reason, a man will leave his father and mother, be united to his wife." Notice the categories of father, mother, man, wife. Christian students believe that a man cannot become a woman and a woman cannot become a man, and the gender that God assigned us was not a mistake. On the other side, students who affirm LGBT ideology believe that man can be in relationship with another man, woman with woman, a man can become a woman, women can become men, men need not act as men, women need not act as women, or people engaging in gender reassignment. It ought to be clear that Christian and LGBT ideology are antithetical. They are completely exclusive. They will never and can never be reconciled. When your teachers put up pride flags and LGBT posters in their classrooms, they are sending a clear message to the minority Christians that are in your district. That message being that they are liars, they are wrong, they need to change, they are not welcomed, they are not safe to express who they are. Perhaps I'm an extremist, but I believe that public schools should be an inclusive space for all people, a safe space for all people. My question to you all today is this: will you change your policies to be more inclusive of your oppressed and underrepresented students, those being Christians and conservatives? Will you take the LGBT and politically charged material out of the classrooms? Will you protect all students or only the students who think and align with your ideologies? That's all. Thank you.
All right, thank you. The views and opinions expressed during community comments are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of the North Clackamas School District Board of Directors. The letters we received since the last meeting consist of an email from the Echo Schools Network, an email about venue rental, and some emails about classroom behavior concerns. All right, and we will now begin with our native land acknowledgement. Director Dobson will lead the acknowledgement this evening.
We acknowledge the land on which we sit and which we call the North Clackamas School District rests on the traditional and indigenous lands and village sites of the native peoples of the Kalapuya, Chinook, Molalla, and the Clackamas. We take this opportunity to offer gratitude for the ability to learn, work, and be a community on this land, and we offer thanks to the original caretakers of this region. We recognize the historic policies of colonization, genocide, relocation, and assimilation that affected Indigenous and Native families both past and present, and that will affect those in the future, and honor the resilience and revitalization of our Indigenous and Native communities. We pay our respects to the elders, both past and present, who have been the stewards of this land throughout the generations.
Thank you. Please rise. Director Wachter, will you lead the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag tonight? Next on the agenda is approving the minutes. In the board packet, you will find the minutes of the January 25th, 2024 meeting of the North Clackamas School District Board of Directors. Is there a motion to approve?
Bauer, I move to approve the minutes of January 25th, 2024.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Wachter, second.
It has been properly moved by Director Bauer and seconded by Director Wachter. Is there any discussion? I will call for a vote on the motion. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
And are we able to get Director McVeigh's?
Aye.
There he is. Excellent. Motion passes with a vote of 6-0. In the board packet, you will also find the minutes of February 8th, 2024 meeting of the North Clackamas School District Board of Directors. Is there a motion to approve those minutes?
Chair, I move approval of February 8th, 2024 minutes.
Is there a second?
Wachter, second.
It has been properly moved by Director Bauer and seconded by Director Wachter. Is there any discussion? I will call for a vote on the motion. All those in favor, aye. Aye.
Aye.
Excellent. All those opposed? All right, motion passes 6-0. Thank you. And our consent agenda in the board packet, you will also find a consent agenda, a short one this evening. The item on the consent agenda is employment changes only. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Chair, I make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Is there a second?
Chair, Bauer.
McVeigh, second.
Oh,
Oop.
give it to McVeigh.
All right. It's been properly moved by Director Wachter and seconded by Director McVeigh. Is there any discussion? And I will call for a vote on the motion. All those in favor, aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, excellent. Motion passes 6-0. Thank you. Next on the agenda is the Classified Staff Appreciation Week proclamation. Director Bauer will begin reading the proclamation.
Thank you, Chair Benaloga. Whereas the education of youth is essential to the future of our community, state, country, and world, and
Whereas classified employees are the backbone of our public education system, and
Whereas classified employees work directly with students, educators, parents, volunteers, business partners, and community members. And
Whereas classified employees support the smooth operation of offices, the safety and maintenance of buildings and property, and the safe transportation, health, nutrition, and direct instruction of our students. And
Whereas our community depends upon and trusts classified employees to serve students. And
whereas classified employees with their diverse talents and true dedication nurture students throughout their school years.
Is there a motion to approve this proclamation?
I move to adopt the proclamation declaring March 4th through 8th, 2024 as Classified Employee Appreciation Week in the North Clackamas School District.
Is there a second?
McVeigh, second.
Excellent. It's been moved by Director Dobson and seconded by Director McVeigh. Is there any discussion? Director McVeigh, do you have a comment on this proclamation?
I do. I've been part of many work groups with the classified staff as a board member in the district and as a parent and just being part of the community. And their commitment to their jobs, our kids, and our community is really the gold standard. When they show up for the benefits meeting or bargaining, they show up with care about everyone, not just themselves or their groups, and they demonstrate their words with actions in the workplace. I've worked side by side with many of them as a volunteer in the community, school projects throughout the district, and we are truly blessed by them, and the district cannot thrive without them. And I am confident that I speak on behalf of teachers, parents, administrators, and students.
Thank you, Director McVeigh. Is there any other comment, Director Bauer?
Thank you, Chair Benaloga. Just a few weeks ago, we were honoring school board members, and I sat there thinking, who makes us look good? Who does the organizing? Who is always smiling? Who's being so patient? And Donna Collingwood, I mean, there's so many, classified employees, but I feel remiss that I didn't do it at that time, but thank you so much. I know she joined us not too long ago, but she just is flying with it. So thank you. But she is an example of so many others, all of these employees. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other comment? All right, I will call for a vote on the motion. All those in favor, aye.
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 Aye. All those opposed? Oh, do we get Director McVeigh?
Aye.
Thank you. The motion passes with a vote of 6-0. Thank you so much. And now therefore be it resolved that the North Clackamas School District Board of Directors proclaims the week of March 4th through the 8th, 2024 to be Classified Employee Appreciation Week in the North Clackamas School District. And be it further resolved that the North Clackamas School District School Board of Directors strongly encourages all members of our community to join in this observance, recognizing the dedication and hard work of these individuals, adopted this 22nd day of February 2024. Next on the agenda is Women's History Month, correct? Okay, Women's History Month. Women's History Month proclamation. Director Dobson will begin reading the proclamation.
Whereas American women of every race, class, and ethnic background have made historic contributions to the growth and strength of our nation in countless recorded and unrecorded ways.
Whereas American women have played and continue to play critical economic, cultural, and social roles in every sphere of life of the nation by constituting a significant portion of the labor force, working inside and outside of the home.
Whereas American women have played a unique role throughout the history of the nation by providing the majority of the volunteer labor force of the nation.
Whereas American women were particularly important in the establishment of early charitable, philanthropic, and cultural institutions of our nation.
Whereas American women of every race, class, and ethnic background served as early leaders in the forefront of every major progressive social change movement.
And whereas American women have served our country courageously in the military.
Whereas American women have been leaders, not only in securing their own rights of suffrage and equal opportunity, but also in the abolitionist movement, the emancipation movement, the industrial labor movement, the civil rights movement, and other movements, especially the peace movement, which create a more fair and just society for all. And
Whereas despite these contributions, the role of American women in history has been consistently overlooked and undervalued in the literature, teaching, and study of American history.
Is there a motion to approve this proclamation?
Chair, I propose a motion to adopt the proclamation recognizing March 2024 as Women's History Month in the North Clackamas School District.
Is there a second?
I'll-
Excellent. It's been moved by Director Wachter and seconded by Director Dobson. Is there any discussion? Director Dobson, do you have a comment on this proclamation?
I do. And I had a carefully researched and citation heavy little report to read to you all because there's so much I want to say, but I'm going to mix it up because I just spent the last week taking care of my mama while she was in and out of the hospital. And even though we stand on the shoulders of giants here in Oregon, we have Beverly Cleary and Beatrice Morrow Kennedy and Edith Green and Margaret Carter and I just want to take this opportunity to say thank you and express appreciation for the women who are doing the work today. The work to care for their communities, to care for children, to be doctors, to be nurses, to be scientists, to be educators, to be astronauts, and all of those things that the hard work of generations before us allowed us to be. Thank you for doing that work. We see you. We appreciate you. Give your mamas hugs. That is all.
Thank you. Are there any other comments? All right, I will call for a vote on the motion. All those in favor, aye. Aye, I do.
Aye, and thank you, Chair, for reading my statement. I couldn't get off mute in time.
Absolutely. All those opposed? Motion passes with a vote of 6-0. Thank you. So now therefore it be resolved that the North Clackamas School District hereby proclaims that March is designated as Women's History Month, adopted this 22nd day of February 2024. Thank you. Next on the agenda is the Clackamas Education Service District Local Service Plan. I welcome Assistant Superintendent of Education Yvonne Dibley, who will introduce our guests.
Thank you so much, Chair. It's a pleasure to introduce Superintendent Didway. It gives us the opportunity to really share the fact that as superintendent, he collaborates with all of our county superintendents. He advocates, he is a constant support, but above all, he really values relationships. And that is something that that is deeply meaningful to us. So with that, I turn it over to Superintendent Didway, who will introduce his guest and review the plan.
Oh, thank you very much, Dr. Dibley. Good evening, board members, Chair Benaloga. It's good to see you all here tonight, and also to hear the voices of some online. With me here tonight is our board chair, Greg McKenzie, back there, and also Wade Byers, board member. You can wave, and Lynn Mills, I'm sorry, and Lynn Mills. And all three of them are here tonight with me in honor of our opportunity to come and talk with you tonight about our local service plan and how our ESD collaborates with all 10 of our local school districts, but especially the relationship we have with North Clackamas School District. But before I get into that process, I want to say a few thank yous to folks in the room and on your team, beginning with your superintendent, Shay James, who I know Dr. James, I think, is online there, but not here in person tonight. But she is definitely a valued member of our Clackamas ESD advisory group made up of our superintendents, and it meets weekly, or rather, well, I probably do meet with her weekly, but our group meets monthly and to share information and just collaboratively address challenges. And Dr. James is a valued member of that group and has great insight and makes great contributions. And she's definitely a great thought partner. We also want to express thanks to Jeremy Cohen, who is definitely also a partner, especially with helping us launch our regional high school success network and planning those agendas and preparing for those meetings, and his contributions are also very valuable, and we appreciate him. We also want to call out Jen Burkhart, early learning coordinator, and other partners involved: Jeff Green, principal of Mount Scott, Heidi Dodge, principal of Oak Ridge, and Joel Dunn, principal of Spring Mountain, for their partnership and support of our Head Start to Success programs that are in your district. We also want to call out the members of your team that have been very helpful to us as we have proceeded with our Early Learning Center construction project at the Sunnybrook campus. Particularly Leaf Palmer, who has been a great support in purchasing consultation and technical support. And we really have valued his contributions, as well as Melinda Schumacher and the facilities team for providing much needed storage. I don't know if you know, but you're holding a bunch of our things here, and we are very, very appreciative of that. Also, in the local service plan itself, that looks like this. If you look at pages 10 and 11, you'll see a number of other North Clackamas School District professionals who meet regularly with their Java-like peers across the county in groups that are facilitated by Clackamas CSD. And we very much appreciate their participation and their collaborative work with peers across the county, and it helps all of us serve our community better. And then last but not least, I certainly want to do a shout out to board members. We missed Board Appreciation Month in January, so I'm a little late on the delivery here, but we wanted to express our deep appreciation for your contributions and your service, your volunteer, your dedication, and all that you do to support the youth in our community and support for public education in general, and not just in January, but all year long. And as an expression of our appreciation, we did bring a set of note cards that feature art produced by students that was submitted to our regional art show in 2023. I also want to say thank you to your chair, Chair Benaloga, for volunteering to serve on the ESD Budget Committee. She's like, did I? Yeah, yes. Yeah.
I was out of town and Donna was kind enough to make sure that application got in. I'm happy to serve.
I don't know if that was an announcement to Chair Benaloga or not, but we understood that you had made that volunteer. Yeah. Volunteered, voluntold, but we appreciate it either way. And thank you very much for being a part of that process. We have 3 documents here for you tonight. Only one of those is here for your approval. And I'll start with that and talk about the local service plan. And again, that's the booklet. It looks like this. And it reflects a partnership between Clackamas ESD and all 10 of the school districts that we serve. It is a comprehensive review of all of our services, beginning with our resolution services. And those are the services that are provided to all 10 of our school districts. And they include the areas of special education, technology and data, teaching and learning support, as well as direct revenue that can then be applied to the ESD for services of your choice. It also covers contract and grant services, and those are selected, and it covers a lot of areas like early learning, additional special education programs, technology and teaching and learning services, and also multiple student support services and district technical support that is provided through funds from the Student Success Act. And the local service plan has already been approved by the Clackamas Chief Administrators Council, which again is made up of the 10 county school superintendents and the president of Clackamas Community College. And it's also been approved by the Clackamas ESD Board of Directors. And it is here for you tonight for your review and approval as well. And then the other 2 documents are just for your information and don't require your action. And one of those is the North Clackamas School District 22-23 fiscal year in review, and it looks like this. It's a detailed report for your district, and it indicates the overall value of services that have been delivered by Clackamas ESD and highlights some of the key services that we have provided. Your print packets include copies for all of the districts in Clackamas County, not just North Clackamas. But I do want to highlight a few things from North Clackamas's report. More than $19.4 million in total services were provided, and that's an increase of about $3.2 million from the previous year. Nearly $4.1 million in revenue was funneled directly back to you, and which is about the same as it was last year. And it does reflect vibrant partnerships in early learning services and support, including free preschool program, improving support for multilingual learners, support for school nurses and counselors, help for addressing students' mental and behavioral health needs, providing special education services to students with complex needs, enhancing STEM learning opportunities, and a range of data and technology support. It also reflects support for improvements and enhancement to curriculum and instruction, including and especially in math and literacy. We hope the format of that report is helpful to you and gives you more context for the many ways that North Clackamas School District and Clackamas ESD collaborate. And we would welcome any feedback on how we can make that report even more useful to you in the future. And then we also brought our annual report that looks like this. This year's is titled In Service or At Your Service. And it covers roughly a 1-year period from the fall of 22 through 23. And it just uses data and storytelling to provide more information about what Clackamas ESD does and the impact that we have in our region. And we hope that this report is also useful to you, and we would welcome your feedback and any information that you would like to see featured in future reports. And with that, I'll pause to see if you have any questions.
Is there any discussion or question from any director? I know this is a lot of information. I appreciate that. Superintendent, yes, Director Bauer.
Thank you, Chair Benaloga. I just want to say thank you, Superintendent. This is, the first year I was on the board, I had no knowledge of all the services that you do and the great partnerships that you are. I mean, I thought it was printing. Is what, So
Yeah.
I don't think the public knows that too. So I'm so glad you come every year and educate us and continue to be great partners. You did say that the amount that we receive is about 3 million more than last year. You said it's 19.4. Was that what you said?
Yeah.
Now, is that because of the portion that you're getting from the state then? And
you mean why did it increase?
yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Mainly.
Okay.
Yeah. The ESD receives funding from a multitude of sources, but the funding that's referring to specifically comes from the state school fund,
Okay.
and 4.5% of the state school fund goes to ESDs. And then we work with our component school districts to divvy that up according to membership numbers.
Great. Well, thank you
Yeah.
so much for all the information and the hard work and the partnership.
Thank you.
Are there any other comments or questions from directors? Yes, Director Kemp.
I was impressed reading about the data services and
Yeah.
all that you provide to North Clackamas and the other 9 districts in the service district. That's really impressive. The other thing I was astounded with is the quality of the art in your
Oh.
presentation, and
That's student art.
student art, yes. And the cards is a special treat. I was really impressed with the art in your document, which is nice to see from all over the district and see the talent of the students.
Great.
All right, is there any other discussion or question? I too just want to mention that the ESD is so much more than a print house. And I really hope that people take a moment to truly look at the plan and look at all the things that the ESD collaborates with. And I also want to point out that you've kind of become the jack of all trades and you do whatever needs to be done for the district. And I think that's amazing to truly just morph into what each district needs from you to elevate the things that they want to do better or that they need help with and they need collaboration with. So we so appreciate your partnership and always
Thank
the
you.
very, very thorough report that we get. I enjoy reading it. Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
And our middle name is Service, and so we want to adapt as you need. Yeah. So
Excellent. Well, thank you so much.
you.
And thank you, board members, for attending as well.
thank you.
Next on the agenda is Clackamas Community College bond proposal. I again welcome Assistant Superintendent of Education, Yvonne Dibley, who will introduce our guests.
Thank you. Community colleges serve such a vital role in the educational journey of so many of our graduates and so many of the graduates here in Oregon. So with heartfelt appreciation, it's my pleasure to welcome Jeff Schaefer, the Clackamas Community College Vice President.
Thank you. Greetings, everybody. Jeff Schaefer with Vice President and CFO of Clackamas Community College. I do want to say, usually these presentations are done by President Cook, when I saw it was North Clackamas, I said, I'm going to take that one for us because as probably many of you don't know, this is a school district that's near and dear to me. I've been a member of the district for a long time and co-chair of the Political Action Committee of the 2016 bond with a dear friend of mine who's on your board, and helped run the 2018 levy. So it's just been a passion of mine to be at the school district and have all my 3 children go through this district. And so I wanted to come out here and present our potential upcoming bond with this school district. So with that, so we are Clackamas Community College. Probably don't need to give you all the information because you know us pretty well, but we were founded almost 60 years ago. We have 3 campuses, Oregon City, Milwaukee, and Wilsonville. We have usually around 20,000 students. We're down to under 19,000 now. We're still losing enrollment, but we usually have around 20,000 students and just under 1,000 employees at the college. The average age of our college is 32 years old, and we have over 100 technical degree and certificate programs, along with transfer degrees, GED, ESOL, adult high school education. So we have a wide swath of what we do out there at the college to serve the community out here. By the numbers, again, 20,000 students, but it equates to around 5,000 full-time equivalent students with a lot of part-time students that we have. A wide array, just like our community, we have a wide array of students. So you can see it's not all transfer students. We have a number of different pieces that we offer out there, along with a wide demographics that represent our community. It's just a piece of being a community college. Maybe getting to Larry's point, we are, our middle name is community. So we do serve our community truly as the community college of the district. So one thing we wanted to talk about is a bond election that's potentially coming up here in November of 2024. For those who don't know about bonds, they basically, and I'm guessing a lot of this group does because it's been so active in bonds, but they generally pay for expansion and capital improvements that happen with your buildings and your grounds. And the voters have to approve these through an election that you put on the ballot. And the CCC is looking to put a measure here on the 2024 ballot. And at this point, we haven't put it out on the ballot yet. So we are simply doing a roadshow. So this is more of a putting it on the filing for the ballot, getting feedback from our districts, getting feedback on what is resonating with the different districts. What do you like about this potential bond list? What are some things that you have feedback for us on? So before we go to our board and recommend an actual bond list here in a few months, we can actually get all that feedback from our community. So that's really what we're doing at this point, is getting all that feedback from our local districts around here. We have a long history of community support. The bond we're actually working on is started in 2000. We did go out in 2014 and refinance that bond. And part of refinancing that bond, we went out to the voters and renewed it. And what it allowed for was for us to then come in and say, when that bond has the next stair step in the levy in 2025, we could then go out and do a second piece of that in 2024. So this is really, we had a 2014 phase 1 renewal of that bond that really helped us build about 4 new big buildings, added a second building out at our Harmony campus. Some of you may have seen out in Milwaukee. So it's been a successful bond, and now we're getting ready to ramp up for our phase 2 of that potential bond project. To get back to that 2014 bond, it was a $90 million bond, but we like to talk about how we leveraged over 50% extra funding for that bond. So we got $32 million worth of state matching funds, which are a program the state comes in with $8 million per project to be able to match large capital projects. So we got a lot of state funding along with some other premiums on our credit rating and our grants and our interest that really helped provide $136 million of building out of a $90 million bond. So it was really a big win on our last bond that we did in 2014. And then we got ready for 2024. So a couple years ago, we decided to do a few pieces of getting ready for this upcoming bond. We had a concept master plan and said, what could we do with our campus over the next 20 years? Looked at all the different options. We also did an athletics facility master plan, and we did a mechanical, electrical, and plumbing master plan, which is more like a major maintenance of your buildings that we built out in the late 60s, early 70s. So all those things came together already over $300 million. So we had more than we knew we could even renew our bond for. So we had plenty of work to do. We then got a bond development work group together last year. It included our staff, our students, our board members, and that group started working on prioritizing a list of bond projects for us. We also did an internal survey with our staff, along with some external polling that we did in our community. I know one of the things we heard around our community was renewing a bond definitely pulled much better than adding new money. So we've been focused since that polling came out on what would it look like to renew this bond. And so that's really was our focus of our bond development work group. So one thing that came out of that work group was we had 3 themes. When we started looking at all those pieces, they said, really, there's pieces of this that are about preparing our students for success in modern learning spaces. It's no longer, a lot of our big halls out there are just 20 desks and a chalkboard, right? And it's just the modern learning spaces are not necessarily suited to that. And a lot of our student spaces are what you would consider the old 70s, 80s style of student spaces. And we need to come out and start thinking about what is the modern learning space for college students. Some of them are taking remote, some of them are hybrid, some of them are face-to-face. And so we're talking about things like Zoom rooms and different hoteling type of spaces for our students. So a lot of pieces of this bond master planning came out saying we need to be looking at remodeling our building to meet the next wave of what students will be doing for learning in the next 20 years. The second piece talked a lot about what we could do with a lot of our acreage. We have a lot of acreage out there on the campus. With hybrid learning, we're actually not quite as full as we used to be. If anybody was like me who went out there in the 80s, it was like full parking lots, not full parking lots anymore. So how do we take all this acreage and space that we have and help serve our community with that public space? So we've been looking at pieces of that we can do. And then our third piece was really about maintaining what we have. We have a lot of infrastructure from the late 60s, early 70s. How do we take care of some of those and do some repiping, some things that really with our heating systems to really make them more efficient and better for the future? So those were really the 3 themes we got out of it. But what we knew is we really only had about $110 to $120 million if we wanted to renew this bond. So we couldn't do everything. So that was really our focus, was the dollar figure of around 110, 120 million and these 3 themes. So I'll go over some of those projects. We had some projects that we fit into those. One of them's a really exciting project. It's kind of our keystone project for this, which is to create a center of excellence for horticulture, farming, welding, and wildland fire. So we really have our horticulture center is right off of Beaver Creek Road. It's the backside of the college. It's really almost, you just see the back of greenhouses and other buildings at that spot on Beaver Creek Road. This would make that a landmark entrance, along with Molalla is traditionally our front entrance. This would make Beaver Creek Road another landmark entrance with this center of excellence that would be happening right there on that entryway. And we also have had a lot of interest from OSU Extension, wants to come partner with us. And they've offered up to $10 million to partner into that building for us, so they could have a nice OSU Extension be part of that whole center of excellence. So that's a really exciting project that we're looking at. We also have what I mentioned earlier, modernizing our learning spaces. So this is remodeling a lot of our buildings to say, what does education look like in a community college over the next 20 years, and remodeling our spaces to fit those needs. In the second theme, one of the ones that may be exciting for this group is we've been approached by a national group called the Challenger Center. So you'd have to look it up. I didn't know about it until I got the presentation from them, but it's a hands-on type of STEM activity that brings in primarily middle schoolers. So we would make a spot for them at the college where it's like an OMSI-like piece where they have different modules. They come in and they can have a space shuttle launching or something. So it's really meant to bring and introduce science to the middle schools on field trips that would come in and get them on our campus and see what if that's something that excites them. And so it's an opportunity for us to partner and do something like that with our space on our campus that we really are excited. We have a lot of the school districts are really excited about that opportunity to bring folks onto our campus to do a Challenger Center. Another piece we're working on is Wilsonville currently is very heavy in our PG program and our workforce and apprenticeship partnerships that we have out there. So we're talking about building another building out there that would help expand our apprenticeship programs and our workforce partnerships that are out there on our Wilsonville campus. We're also talking about upgrading our athletics fields. Currently, when folks have to do a large athletic track and field event, they have to go to Mount Hood or some other campus because our facilities don't meet the needs. So this would allow us to bring in a true athletic field, grandstands. We're also looking at a synthetic indoor or a synthetic soccer field with lighting. So it would allow us to program it and bring a lot more folks from the local communities onto our campus using our athletic fields, which haven't really been utilized that much. And then lastly would be we've talked about completing like our Douglas Loop, which has been a spot where a lot of people since the pandemic have come as a place where you can just park and like get some exercise. And right now it's only half completed. You have to walk on the road or on the grass to actually do the full 1 mile loop around our campus. So we've talked about doing some improvements to that for our community. So those are our main community projects. And our last theme is preserving and maintaining our assets. Again, this is really just the major maintenance. So it's upgrading our technology and our labs, our safety, security, our energy efficiency, different things around our campus that really are the aging facilities, and how do we help increase our operating dollars by making things more efficient than we have old chillers and boilers that serve 4 big buildings and do them all at once. And so how do we do things more in modern times where one HVAC system can control one building based on our scheduling of our classes? So those are the types of things we're really looking at as helping save our operating dollars with doing some major maintenance on all those facilities. And as I mentioned, we're working on leveraging some of this funding. OSU has talked about up to $10 million. We do have those $8 million state grant matches. And there's other federal grants. We're working with Senator Wyden, who's very interested in the Challenger Center, who said we might give some state or some federal funding for that too, because they want to like the idea of that, supporting that. So we're looking at other pieces of leverage funding for all these projects. And lastly, of course, we're working on renewing it. It's mainly a renewal of our existing bond. And it really, one nice thing about being in a large district across the whole county is that it's 25 cents per thousand. So the average house being around 350,000 in the county, that's $85 or, it's not a large amount of money to renew a bond when you're doing something that's only 25 cents per thousand. So it is a nice piece that we can go a long ways because we're such a large district. And with that, really, as I mentioned, this is our roadshow for getting feedback. It's not really to try to get a board, seal of approval for something we've already done. It's really about just getting feedback. We've created a website, the cccbond.org. For folks, if you go there, there's 5 pages. One of the main front pages has a spot for folks to be able to submit ideas, provide us feedback. Obviously out here, I know there's potential, where could there be partnerships with us? So we'd love to hear that feedback, because that's really the piece that we're doing this for, is to get all the feedback on our projects and other things that we could potentially partner with the school district. And like, what are we missing? What are we not asking about? Or what are we not doing in this bond? So those are really the pieces we wanted to bring out to you and just kind of highlight for the board here this evening. So with that, And that is the end of my slide deck. So what questions do you have for me?
All right, thank you. Do we have any questions or comments from our directors? Yes, Director Kemp.
I work for an engineering company and I've done a lot of master planning on campuses for corporate campuses, and we've done a lot of work at PSU. And so I applaud you guys on doing that. That is the right thing to do and maximize your money in the long run and have a good plan for the future. The other thing I want to say is, years ago, I took a welding class out there at your welding center. It was back in 2006 or something. But it was a great class. I learned a lot, and it's one of the textbooks I still hang on to and reference. So it was a good program, and I know a lot of companies, fabricators that rely on getting trained students from that program. So good to see you guys investing in that. We need it, both in structural trades and pipe fitters and so on. There's a lot of need for that. So that's great.
I appreciate it. I think one of the things I learned when I went out there was I always thought of it as a community college was the spot where I personally went and transferred and got a community college associate's degree and then went on to a 4-year. And I always thought that's what everybody did. And it wasn't until I got there that I was, wow, it's actually the smaller percentage of our population. There's a lot of people that are coming there for second careers or the trades or just trying to find a spot to like get something. So that in a year, we do a lot of 1-year certificates or even some 1-term certificates in the welding where we can just get somebody into something, and even on the job training, that's success for us to get them a job, even if it's, 1 or 2 terms into a certificate. So yeah, I appreciate that.
Well, and a lot of my son's friends have gone out there because they weren't sure if they were ready for college, and getting onto campus, doing the stuff, and then a lot of them moved on to a 4-year. So it's a good experience. It keeps kids that are uncertain close, and if they want to do it that way, and leads on to a better future for them. So thank you.
Appreciate it.
All right, are there other questions or comments? Director Wachter?
Thank you, Chair Benaloga. And I wanted to welcome Jeff back. And thank you for, he was great with our bond and our levies. So I think, we all learned a lot about bonds and levies then. And you're doing exactly what we did in our last levy. You have your messaging and you get that message and you just repeat it and repeat it. Tax increase, that was a big one. And all the great work that you're doing, all that, but talk to everyone. And I was just a little curious, or I'll let you know, our early polling was 52% with no tax increase. And then we got the message, but we won with 73%. So, you just talk with everyone and that. So I just wish you the best with that. I'm really excited about your Challengers Center and getting our middle schools really interested in the STEM. I think any connections you can make at that age. And so I really, my hat off to you for looking and developing that program. And I hope it can even get bigger. I wondered about, well, all the schools have lost students. So, you're not alone either. Are they slowly coming back?
Yeah, we were down around, gosh, I don't know if I have the numbers off the top of my head. I want to say around 30% from the pandemic. So, and we're currently still down over 20. So they are coming back. I will say we thought it would bounce back faster. Sometimes things happen where you expect quick losses. We lost obviously a lot quickly in 2020. Fall of 2020, we were still way down. And it really didn't take until last year. So it was 23, fall of 23 to spring of 24 till we gained 5%. So it was that late, and now we're up about 7.5%, 10%, depending on the term. So they're starting to come back, but it's taken this long. So we're even seeing that resurgence coming back. So it's kind of interesting how long that's taking. But like I said, we're still went from 30 and we're still down about 20. So it is a struggle. It feels, and when you're on campus, when you have, we have probably about 50% hybrid now, of some form of hybrid. And sometimes it's just Mondays are hybrid and the rest of the days are on campus. But there's enough hybrid that you lose a lot of energy. So things like your bookstore and your cafe, it just doesn't feel as vibrant as the old days of pre-COVID. So it is a interesting dynamic to have fewer students and fewer people on campus, but it does feel like it's coming back. I will say a lot of us feel when, like this fall, we actually had to find parking. And that was the first time that, that first fall term is always the one when everybody's first week and it's like kind of busy. That was the first week we all kind of were like happy to like not be able to find parking because it was rare. It's been a long time since we've had that. So.
Well, that's great. And I love the programs where the kids can take and get college credit at such a low cost. And then if they do go on to a 4-year, they've saved time, they've saved money. That's great. And the welding program, we have such a great welding program here, but they can go and finish with just a few classes and they have a career that pays well. So thank you for all of that and that great partnership.
Yep,
Nice
bet.
to see you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Director Wachter?
I'm always happy to go after Director Bauer. She has the best things to say. Jeff, thanks for this presentation. Really appreciate you taking the extra effort to visit each of the school districts that are part of this community and getting feedback. That's really a excellent move. I just have to say, I think that CCC is a tremendous community asset. In my personal experience, it's been as a parent of students who have been able to utilize the campus for district events. Maybe it's a music event or perhaps it's a track and field event. And what a glorious campus that main campus is in Oregon City. So I think there's so much value in investing in this bond renewal. So I just want to give you that feedback. You also said chillers and boilers, which invokes my hospital background. And like, yes, those are things that always break, and putting some investment back into those to make sure that they're properly maintained so that we can preserve and continue the services that are provided on those campuses. That's fantastic. I wanted to ask a couple of questions. One is about the retiring of debt. Can you speak a little bit more about that and how the bond renewal specifically retires that debt?
Yeah, it's actually a fairly small amount. We just have to publicly notice it. We have $1 million outstanding on a purchase of land that we did next to between Oregon City High School and the campus. It was a piece that was an opportunity where somebody sold off a large tract of land. It's actually where the power lines go off of Beaver Creek Road on towards our campus. And it's pretty rare when you can get an opportunity. And also with the school district, the closer we can all have that continuous land as public land, it's the more that we can partner on things like cross-country meets and things like that between us and the high school. But with that opportunity to get that piece of land between the college and the high school on that same piece that was, south of the Beaver Creek Road, we had to go out and kind of act quickly and get a loan for that purchase of that land. And this would be an opportunity for us to not hit our operating funds to pay for that debt and be able to use bond funds which qualify for that. So
Perfect.
it's an opportunity for us to actually kind of get that off the books, so to speak, and not have to pay that debt off.
Thank you for that leadership, Jeff, especially as in the role that you're in, identifying those to retire debts and also, invest in sort of the infrastructure. My second question was around, well, let me back up. Month or two ago, we were invited to be part of the school board member breakfast at CCC. And I was really, really impressed by the ways that CCC connected with community need, really thinking about the programming and the ways that different classes could be offered that would support a broad cross-section of Clackamas County's needs from its community. And so I saw in your presentation, you talked about another of those needs in terms of upgrading technology and computer labs. And I guess I have to ask the question that a lot of folks are asking now: how are community colleges like CCC investing in AI and GPT functionality to prepare our students to be not only participants in that new world, but also leveraging that technology to succeed and really direct it?
Yeah, I think AI is a hot topic. Actually, one nice thing we have going for us is our CIO, Chief Information Officer, was just appointed by Governor Kotek to be on the chair for the state leading AI around the state. So we have a in-house expert who's does a lot of presentations on AI, and he's also implementing a chat. This is not my realm as much as his, but the the conversational AI chatbot with our, to take place of the traditional chatbot that just knows the basic stuff, but this one actually starts to understand what you're asking and gets you to register, or gets you to financial aid, or gets you to somewhere where you need to be. So it's a next level of AI for customers that come in and actually are doing that chatbot piece. And I feel like so we are definitely working on our AI elements at the college, as far as how does the next generation look? It's one of the most transformational things that's really happening in the industry right now. So I think we have to be ahead of it. We can't, I think probably, I'm sure the school district knows well, we have a lot of faculty that are worried about what's this mean for education, academic side. And it's more of like, when the internet came, we didn't just say, quit using the internet. We had to figure out how we incorporate the internet into our curriculum and actually make students successful going forward with the use of that new tool that was out there. So I think that's a lot of where we're at now, is how do we take AI and provide that into our curriculum so students are successful with it as they move into the market and aren't just leaving it out of the game. So I think that's a lot of what we're working on right now.
Thanks, Jeff.
Yep.
Appreciate it.
All right, thank you. Any other questions or comments? I just wanted to say thank you as well. Director Bauer and I came out to the open house. It was it was a while ago, maybe last fall. And we got to actually tour some of the new buildings, your new welcome center, and I got to see some of the services out there. And I believe we were out there right before your health clinic was opening.
Yeah.
Which I think is wonderful. Again, trying to be that full service, like really making sure that we're serving the needs of the community. And I also, it's really important, I think, to partner with school districts when it comes to those career type, certificate type programs, especially like with automotive, because I know there's a difference between what can be done at Clackamas Community College compared to what can be done at Mount Hood Community College. I've learned a little bit about that touring the Sabin Schellenberg Center with the principal there, kind of learning what the differences are. So I think that's just so important to partner with the high schools, and it's wonderful the opportunities that our kids have, even from Clackamas Middle College. So many of the students graduate with many, many college credit, and of course, just the opportunities for our high school kids and all of our traditional high schools as well to graduate high school with college credit. So I think that partnership is really invaluable.
I appreciate it. And that's, I think one thing that both President Cook and I have built into us is we're a public asset. So if there's a partnership to be had, I mean, Cindy and I just met on like, where are there parts where Harmony can partner with the school district? Where are there areas where we can partner with the free clinic? And where are there spots where we can actually bring those assets so they're more of a resource for all of the community to have? And, I just finished a partnership with Oregon City Farmers Market, and they're now on our campus because it's a great spot on a Saturday to have vendors come out and have parking and have people come out and not feel like they're in the bustle of a city. So it's one of those things that I think we're focused on in our tenure, is to like, how do we become more of a community asset for all of what we provide for our community, and not just a community college. So we are kind of trying to do all of these partnerships that you see.
And I think, just to piggyback on Director Bauer's comment, that it's just so important to tell people what you've done, to really tout those things that you've done and that you've done well, and be very transparent about what you've delivered and what you've over-delivered on. I think that goes a long way with our community. I believe you have an event tomorrow morning, right? Do you have a
We have a state of the college. So President Cook will be giving a state of the college address in the morning.
Yes, I think it's at 9 or 9:30 or
Sounds
something.
right.
So yeah, tomorrow morning, state of the college address at Clackamas Community College. And again, I think just letting people know all of the ways that you have delivered, and then all of the ways that we're going to be able to partner together to just to lead more and more of our students into success. And even people, as you're noting, the average age being 32 years old, that means that a lot of people are going into the workforce for a few years and then coming back to enhance then what they have. So such an important asset to our community. And thank you so much for the presentation. I appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Thanks. All right.
Thank you. All right, and next on our agenda is the 2024-2025 school calendar discussion. For elementary, middle, and high school levels, I welcome Assistant Superintendent of Education, Yvonne Dibley.
Thank you, directors. This is an annual report or discussion item that is brought to you based on the board policy ICICA, as well as the Oregon administrative rule that will eventually need your approval, and is done annually to ensure that we are meeting the minimum requirements for instructional hours for all of our education levels. In regards to this item, we ensure that we are including 193 contact days for our North Clackamas Education Association. We start this process in December with the support of Chief of Staff Tiffany Shireman, who works alongside our executive directors for elementary and secondary programs. They work together to ensure that there's a variety of considerations that are lifted to ensure that we are considering the various perspectives that impact our calendar. In January, we then have a presentation of the proposed calendars. We meet and gather feedback from the various associations to ensure, again, that we're collaborating, listening to their perspectives, seeing how we can better the calendar to ensure that it is balanced. We, above the considerations, we also look at neighboring districts to see what their calendars look like. We look at university calendars to ensure that we are aligned there as well. We also consider the various holiday celebrations and observances, and first and foremost, make sure that we are also aligned with our collective bargaining agreements. Upon approval by the school board, the 24-25 year calendars will be shared broadly with the North Clackamas School District. So with that, I'll take any questions that you might have.
All right, are there any questions or comments about the 2024-2025 school calendar?
I have a comment.
Yes, Director McVeigh.
I don't know how to do it, but if there was a way to call out when there is a difference between elementary and middle and high for those parents. I've heard a number of times from parents like, I didn't know there wasn't school. I have one kid in, one kid out. And it's clearly on the separate calendars, but sometimes they don't notice that. They think one calendar fits all three levels. And so I don't know if there's a way to highlight when there's a difference without muddying up. There's already a lot of information on those, but we have heard that from parents.
Yeah, thank you for that. We definitely have heard that as well, and we try to ensure that that communication goes out through the various modes of communication, both district and school level. We know it definitely impacts parents that have kids in the various levels, and one of the reasons why there's a difference in calendars really is it has to do with the professional development days and contract days that elementary teachers have in comparison to our secondary colleagues. So we are definitely aware, and we will continue to make sure that we are communicating those differences. Great point.
Thank you.
All right, any other comments or questions? Yep.
So I just wondered next steps on this.
We will bring it back in 2 weeks for action.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Can you just talk a little bit about how you looked, what was the process for looking at holidays, at holidays, remembrance, anything that's acknowledged? Because I noticed we have had issues in the past where sometimes something got missed or forgotten. So can you talk a little bit about what that process was like?
We do. So in partnership, like I said, our chief of staff gathers all of the materials with Donna Collingwood. We have a packet that has all of the pertinent information. So one of the items that we get is a thorough list of the different holidays that are observed. And then our executive directors begin to look through the considerations, the list, the resources. They begin to look at those calendars. We have calendars from years past where we have had the same number of days or where the days land in the exact same way. And so we have those as consideration to make sure that we're not missing anything. And then I think that's a place where we bring it to several groups. So we bring it to our executive council, we bring it to our associations. And again, we review the considerations to ensure that those considerations have been discussed and any kind of accommodations are discussed in that time. And so with the various groups, we're hopeful that we're not missing anything because inevitably something does happen. And we recognize that even though we are trying to be inclusive and understanding of those observances, inevitably there is something that comes up and sometimes we learn the hard way, but we do our best to ensure that we don't have any conflicts with those observances.
And thank you so much for the due diligence. I know that it's got to be incredibly complicated to make sure that we're in school enough days, but then also to be making sure that we're being respectful of the different types of observations that we have. And one quick thing, because so many of the districts around us are starting before Labor Day. So can you talk a little bit just to share with our community and to just make sure that we all understand what do those days look like and what are those choices as far as not starting before Labor Day? Because a lot of our neighboring districts are starting in August.
Right. And I think one of the things that we often say is that any scenario that you discuss has its pros and cons, right? So one of the things that we actually talk about is the weather and what kind of weather we have at various months. And we have an average of the highs and the lows for those months. And when we have association members that are talking to us about how warm their classrooms are, the care that we have to ensure that we have for our students that are going, for example, in summer school, and the accommodations that we have to create when kids are in our buildings and it's warmer than comfortable, we want to ensure that we are making those best decisions. So it is always a topic of discussion. I say that we probably bring it up every year because at secondary, we discuss, for example, more time in the classroom prior to AP and IB exams or before state assessments. And inevitably, the considerations don't always line up. One consideration doesn't reach the other, and it continues to be a conversation that we have, and that's how we handle that.
All right. Well, thank you for that clarification. Any other comments or questions? All right. Thank you so much. And next on the agenda is Student Chromebook Lease Agreement. I welcome Assistant Superintendent of Operations, Cindy Detchen. And she will introduce her guest.
Thank you. With me, I have our Director of Technology and Information Services, Dr. Leanne Shearer. This is coming to you as a discussion item this evening. We purchased Chromebooks several years ago, as you recall, and they have a shelf life. And so Leanne and her team have been working diligently on a replenishment plan and has done quite a bit of research on the different options for purchasing them or obtaining them as part of our district. So again, this is just a discussion. We'll bring this back to you in a couple of weeks because it's a large ticket item and you may have some questions about lease and versus purchase. And if we don't have all the information for you tonight, I'd like to seek out what those questions are so that we can make sure we get those to you. But I'll hand it over to Leanne so she can share a little bit about that process.
Oh, there we go. Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to come. As I was sitting here listening to the other presenters, particularly Clackamas Community College, but also CESD. I was thinking, wow, they're making the case for this when they're talking about how education has changed and modernized and the centrality of technology in that change. Before COVID, we actually had the equivalent of one device for every student, but the way they were used is they were sitting in classrooms in carts, and the teacher would decide whether or not the student would use the Chromebook. They might open them up one day and they might sit for 3 weeks, and the students would never access them. So there were a lot of disparities in student use and access. We also had some schools that had more than one-to-one per student and other schools who had less than one-to-one per student. So they were sharing devices essentially. That all changed, of course, when we sent everyone home and scrambled and found them. And then as Cindy referred to, we purchased using one-time funds, actually 14,000 Chromebooks in a 2-year period. And so there is a shelf life. Those were on a lease, which means next summer we have about 5,000, a little over 5,000 that will go back. And then the following summer we have around 9,000 that will go back. And so what we've been doing is looking for how do we, first of all, is this something that we think as a district we want to continue with? The way students are using Chromebooks now is different. Our curriculum is pretty much all has digital components, and they're not sort of add-ons. They're central to how the curriculum works, which is a little different from how a digital component of a curriculum maybe functioned 7, 8 years ago. It might have been a bonus and now it's central. So our students really do need the access to individual Chromebooks, and they, in many cases, need to be able to take them home. Our middle and high school students actually take the Chromebooks home with them, and then they can continue in their work as they're, working on their assignments, accessing digital resources, all of those pieces. Let me take a look. So as we considered as a district, and I look around here, and lots of folks in the room were in conversations as we talked about, is this a priority for our district and in how we teach students? And the answer was yes. This is something that our teachers have gotten used to and have become really creative in how they're using Chromebooks with their students. Then we decide, okay, what are we going to do about that? Because now we have a hole, and so we have to figure out how to get out of that hole. So as we researched a little bit, and I worked with what other districts were doing, as well as worked with our finance team to see what our options are, we could buy Chromebooks, and then we would own them. But what that means is that it would give us flexibility because we could maybe use them for 5 years, but that means that a student might get an old Chromebook that maybe another student has beat up a little bit, hasn't taken care of. The model that a lot of districts go to and that we're proposing that we go to is that when a student enters 6th grade and when a student enters 9th grade, they get a brand new Chromebook assigned to them. And then that becomes their Chromebook through middle school. And then when they're a 9th grader, they get another one that becomes their Chromebook through high school. And the lease option allows us to stay on top of the technology and not end up with 7, 8-year-old Chromebooks that maybe don't function as well as my friend sitting next to me who has a brand new one. And so that was the primary motivator, is really it allows us to plan for the expense. It's pretty much a wash in the cost. But going with a lease option gives us more flexibility to pivot if the technology changes from year to year. We can, adjust and find something different. Prices vary a lot depending on model and function. So giving a lease will give us that flexibility to change as the market changes or as the needs change. So this would be the first of a series of leases that we would go each year, so that we would be on a 4-year rotation for our devices, where they would, on that fourth year, we would return them to our, the leasing company that we have them from.
I think the other bonus on this leasing agreement is that when we do get ready to return them, they send us all the packing materials and all of the resources you need. We don't have to store them over time and figure out how to dispose of them. The company also offers a purchase option for the students when they graduate, so they can purchase them for extremely reduced cost. So that's an exciting part too. We're not set up to take student money for materials like that, especially after graduation. So we'll bring this back, but love to know if you have questions in the meantime.
All right. Are there any questions or comments? Yes, Director Kim.
When I was doing IT for our company, we leased a lot of stuff for the very same reason. So I think that's a good plan. And we also allowed employees to buy that equipment at the end of the lease if they wanted to use it at home or take it home for their kids to use, and it served a good purpose that way. So I like everything I'm hearing. It sounds like you guys are on the right plan.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Director Bauer.
Thank you for that report. And I like that you answered the question right at the beginning. Are we using them? Yes. Okay. And I think it's great that there's an equity issue here too, that I hadn't thought about it that way, that someone would get an old one and someone would get a new one. I mean, I like that you just spelled it out. So thank you for that. So are there warranties and then some upkeep at all? I mean, are these companies, is this company great to work with in that area?
Yeah, it's the same company that we have our current lease with, so we're familiar with them.
Okay.
The warranties on the Chromebook come with a 1-year manufacturer's warranty. We chose not to do an extended 3-year warranty on these for a few reasons. Primarily, it was pretty cost prohibitive compared to what we've seen that we've had to access. So it was going to cost about $100 more per device, and we haven't needed to access an extended warranty in that way. So while we have that on our current devices, we didn't feel like we needed to do that moving forward. Also, getting on this 4-year cycle will allow us to maybe make a different decision in 2 years if we find with that next set, maybe we do need to do the extended warranty, or maybe there's other options available. We work actually with CESD. They do a lot of our Chromebook repairs for us. And so that's one of the pieces that we contract with them. We're also looking at, actually, we're in the process of setting up for some of our own staff to be able to do some of the minor repairs on them that won't void any warranty. And then potentially down the road, setting up with to allow for students to get certified to do some of the repairs. And that's more of a long-term goal that we have, is to figure out how to make that program work for us as well. So I think some of the repairs, there's always going to be things that we can't do. And that's built in. We have, I think I figured 4% above for figuring there'll be loss and repair that we would need to have in there.
And then just one other thought, thinking ahead, and I think I heard a couple parents say that, when we have those snow days, if kids could take them home and say it got extended, we possibly, but that, I know that's asking a lot, and that's hybrid again. But it's just a thought that they have it, and maybe, we can possibly do that. Do the kids they sign anything of responsibility when they are assigned these? Okay.
Yeah, so there's a couple of things. One is in our student parent handbook, there is a responsible use that's with that. And with our middle and high school, when it's sent home, they have a, I agree that I'm going to take care of this sort of document that they sign. Yeah.
Yeah, I just have the kindergartner, so I.
Yeah, and the elementary students generally don't take them home. They stay in the classroom. There have been situations, we've had we've had a handful of students that have special circumstances. Primarily, it's actually our English learners, because they have some online language programs. And so some schools have checked out devices to elementary students over breaks or over for them to take home so they can do some of that practice at home as well.
Great. That's good. Nice to be flexible. Thank
Mhm.
you.
Right, thank you. Director Wachter?
Great presentation. Thank you very much. This is indeed a big ticket item as far as I've seen them in my young tenure with the school board. So I guess there are a couple things that would help me understand just the wisdom in this request, and partially it's understanding the interlocking relationship between Insight Financial Services, which I think is the leasing company, can't quite tell, versus OETC, which I think is the procuring company. Contract 16R with PCMG, no idea what that means. So just some clarity around would be helpful for me
Mhm.
around the procurement process, competitive bidding process that you went through
Mhm.
to select this vendor to provide these computers, at least through this service, just because this is such a high ticket value item. I know it's value to our students.
Yeah.
I know that full well. I just want to make sure that we are caring for our Clackamas County community that also wonders around how we made these selections.
Yeah. Excellent question.
Thank you.
It's something that I knew nothing about a year ago. So, so OETC is a organization that actually holds contracts for government purchase. So they do the competitive bidding process to get the pricing, to get the which then as members we can access that that process, that pricing, right? So we don't actually do the bids for the pricing. That goes through OETC. So we're actually, the quote came from OETC, but the lease, the Insight Financial will actually buy them from OETC on our behalf. But it's very complicated, but we access the contract because we're a member of OETC, right? And so then we have a contract with Insight Financial that is the holder of the lease.
There are several ways that our district and other districts use those kind of cooperative agreements. This is a perfect example of that, and we're fortunate that we do have an organization like OETC that does all of that procurement. Those state contracts allow us as school districts and other government agencies, I suppose, as well, to not use our time and resources to do what they already know how to do very well. We do it when we have to, and we go through all those processes through our purchasing department and cross all of those legal I's or T's and dot those legal I's as well. But this is a cooperative agreement, so we're fortunate to have that.
Thank you for that. It is as complicated as it sounds, but it sounds like it's also very wise. And I noticed that back of the envelope math is $484 per device. Seems like also a really great price point.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any opportunities to improve upon that? Would we drive that, or would actually OETC drive that?
OETC would drive that. And part of the cost, as Cindy alluded to, is actually on the return end.
Oh.
Because that's built into the lease agreement is the packing and shipping. So, and at this point, we currently have sitting in our warehouse a bunch of Chromebooks that we're having trouble recycling and getting rid of. It just takes months and months. And so that is an actual other financial benefit to us, I think. It's a cost that's associated with it. So you could go and get a cheaper Chromebook, but there's other pieces that are built into that pricing as well. Mm-hmm.
All right, thank you. Any other questions or comments? All right, thank you so much for all the information. And our next on the agenda is the procurement of modular classrooms, Beatrice Moore Kennedy Elementary School discussion action. I welcome again Assistant Superintendent of Operations, Cindy Detchen.
Thank you. We would like to seek your approval tonight, if you're comfortable with the information presented. As you know, some of those larger contracts that you make, particularly in the construction world, those bids are only good for so many days, and they like to get it on their schedule so we can get going on the summer. So we would appreciate that action item tonight if possible. We continue to look for ways to make sure that we are accommodating and increasing enrollment in portions of our district, and that is along that 172nd corridor on the far east side of our school district. You may recall that we put 2 modular buildings on Scouters Mountain this past summer, so that provided 4 classrooms. Each building has 2. We are going to be putting 1 modular building on the Kennedy site, which would have 2 additional classrooms for use. Right now, they're okay with their capacity. They're meeting it. They have enough classrooms. This would give them some wiggle room for some future growth. Current enrollment projections do not show that they're going to increase astronomically over the next few years. It's going to be about status quo for at least a couple of years. But this right now, at the current cost price and the ability to do it, and the fact that I still have a couple people in the bond office who can get some of this work done, we're able to bring this forward now. And they will be used. They won't sit there empty. The school will assign, but it'll alleviate maybe some of the space inside of the building to use for some other programming, which is always needed in our schools. So we are seeking your approval for a bid contract to WillScott Mobile Mini. We're familiar with WillScott. They did all of the modulars at Milwaukee High School back when we had Mod City, and we're on the football field for 2 years. And so we are comfortable with them, and they did win the bid on the procurement process through this.
All right, thank you. Is there any discussion? Is there a motion to approve?
I make a motion to move this to an action item. Or do we need to do that?
We do not need to do that tonight, Director
Perfect.
McKay. We just need a motion to approve the purchase.
Great. I'll make a motion to approve the procurement of modular classrooms at Beatrice Monroe Kennedy Elementary School in the amount of $281,930.
Do we need the name of WillScott Mobile Mini in there as well?
Sure. To WillScott Mobile Mini.
Thank you. Is there a sec? Thank you, Director McVeigh. Is there a second?
Bauer, second.
Is there any discussion again? All right, it's been properly moved by Director McVeigh and seconded by Director Bauer. Let's call for a roll call vote since the money's involved in this one. Director Bauer,
Aye.
Director Dobson, Director Kemp, Director McVeigh,
Aye.
Director Wachter,
Aye.
and Director Bradaloga. I am an aye as well. Motion passes with a vote of 6-0.
Thank you.
And next on the agenda is the Early Literacy Success Grant. I welcome Executive Director of Elementary Programs, Patrizia Ahrens.
Good evening, directors. On January 25th, we brought forward the Early Literacy Success Grant for submission to the Oregon Department of Education, and I am bringing it to you tonight for action, and I'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you. Is there any discussion or questions? Director Bauer?
Just for the public, I mean, if they're joining us for the first time, maybe just a quick summary of, there's been a lot of work to this point, and you gave us, I think at the January, I had to look this up, 25th meeting, we had a full discussion on that. But before that, you've been out to the community. Just give a little summary if someone's just joining us tonight.
Yeah, I'll be happy to do that. So this is a Oregon Department of Education grant, and it's a non-competitive grant that starts this year from 2023 to 2027. And one of the main components of the grant is to increase the student reading proficiency in the early literacy grades. And some of the what we worked with the team of teachers, coaches, different departments. We worked on creating a proposal that basically contains all the requirements and the allowable things that the grant required for us to complete. Some of the allowable expenses contain instructional materials, professional development and coaching, family engagement, extended learning and tier support, and high dosage for tutoring opportunities for students. So the grant contains each one of those components and explains what would be the outcome and what would be the investment that we are proposing to the district.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Director Kemp?
Yeah, back in January, when you guys went over this, the family engagement section was listed at 16,000. And I know there was, in this report, the number is still the same. And I thought I heard in the January meeting that there was actually going to be more money put into that. And I was kind of expecting to see that number be different in this, when I was going through this, unless this is just simply a repeat of that presentation.
Yes, Director Kemp, this is a repeat of that presentation.
Yeah, because there was another section that just said the family involvement is pivotal in advancing the student learning, considering families are students' primary educators.
Yes.
So, okay.
Director Kemp, may I add? So this is the part where when we went out to do a needs assessment, and this grant is also part of the integrated programs work that we've done. So we have a lot of outreach that we've done with community partnerships. And because of the way that the grant is identified, there is a lesser amount in family and community partnerships right now, because this is year one of the grant. So most of the money is going to be utilized for materials and basically starting up. Our full focus is 100% going to be incorporating the work of not only the early literacy grant, but also the work of SIA, because we're really braiding funds and we're ensuring that the strategies that we are using are aligned. They're not different from any of the work that we're doing, but instead we're really supplementing that work. And so it is the intention to increase that money, just like it is the intention to increase money, for example, in summer learning. But because we're waiting for ODE to understand whether they're going to provide us money with summer learning and these types of things, we're holding off on those buckets of focus and ensuring that we are utilizing the monies currently for materials, which is highly needed.
Yeah, kind of like a startup cost, I guess.
You got it.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Thanks for
Yes,
the clarification.
absolutely.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? All right, is there a motion to approve?
McVeigh, motion to approve the 2023 to 2027 Early Literacy Success Grant submission to the Oregon Department of Education.
Thank you, Director McVeigh. Is there a second?
Bauer, second.
It's been properly moved by Director McVeigh and seconded by Director Bauer. Is there any discussion? I will call.
Best of luck.
I will call for a vote on the motion. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? All right, the motion passes with a vote of 6-0. So we are at that time of the evening where it's time for
Thank you.
us to adjourn. Thank you so much,
And I think
Patricia.
that you will be back with some more exciting results and sharing with you all the things that we're going to be doing. So thank you for the support.
Excellent. We are very excited to hear where we go with this early literacy, these early literacy dollars. It's wonderful. So thank you all so much. And in honor of our classified staff appreciation and Women's History Month, just to remember how important it is that we have such a wonderful staff and a group of people that truly care about our community and care about our students. So I want to leave you with a thought from Dr. Seuss. Unless someone like you cares a whole awful lot, nothing is going to get better. It's not. So it is now 8:08 p.m. and this public meeting of the North Clackamas School District Board of Directors is adjourned. Have a good evening. Thank you.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, Tori.